Hello, everyone, and happy Veterans Day to all our veterans, past and present. My name is Heather Doucette, and I am NetElixir's Event Marketing Manager. And today, NetElixir is thrilled to share with you our latest real-time data on e-commerce sales and online shopper behavior. For today's agenda, we will dive into a high-level research overview of how consumer preferences are continuing to evolve rapidly and share questions that we've been asked, which prompted this research. Next, we'll share the latest e-commerce sales and online shopper behavior data that we've collected using our proprietary tool, NetElixir Insights. For all of our attendees here today, congratulations, because you are the first to receive our hot off the press 13th annual holiday e-commerce sales predictions and 2020 holiday e-commerce sales calendar, which is being released today during this webinar. This calendar will help retailers and brands like yourself plan for a strong digital campaign around key shopping moments. We're also thrilled to be joined by Pelander, who is the Vice President of Marketing at GovX, for our live Q&A session. Aaron will share his insights into online shopper behavior of veterans and the marketing strategy GovX has been using to win new holiday shoppers this season. So let's begin by who is NetElixir. Since 2005, NetElixir has successfully helped retail e-commerce brands find and engage high-value customers online and grow their online sales using our game-changing insights. We have a team dedicated of digital marketers that specialize in a variety of digital marketing solutions, such as paid search, SEO, social media marketing, Amazon marketing services, analytics consulting, and e-commerce tech development services. We are very proud to be premier partners with UPS, Google, Bing, and Facebook. Below are a list of some of the clients that we have the privilege of working with. As you can see, our client industries vary from food to fashion. To go over today's data and insights, I am pleased to welcome Aaron Pelander, the VP of Marketing at GovX, and Udayan Bose, the founder and CEO of NetElixir. Welcome, Udayan and Aaron. So before I pass it along to Udayan, I want to quickly remind the audience that if you have questions at any time, you can submit your questions using the Q&A button below. Also, we have a short survey that's going to appear on your screen at the end of our presentation. I would greatly appreciate it if you took a moment to fill out that survey to let us know how we can do and improve moving forward. Sorry, Udayan, over to you.
Thank you very much, Heather. Hi everyone. Wish all the veterans as well as all the primary responders a very happy Veterans Day. It's really with a lot of gratitude and a lot of humility. Essentially, we really sort of thank you on behalf of the entire NetElixir team for your service, selfless services for the country. This is a continuation of our COVID-19 series webinar, which we had started on the 11th of March. We continued till about 25th of September, then took a pause for about a month, and then we are back again. And unfortunately, I think this outbreak has really proven to be a human tragedy of epic proportions, and with really lives at risk. We hope that conditions improve quickly. As I had mentioned in my earlier sessions as well, the outbreak is moving very quickly, as we know, and some of the perspectives in our presentation may fall rapidly out of date. For this presentation, we have considered first-hand e-commerce sales data for a select data set of online retailers from about 7 categories, as until about November 7th. So it's a pretty fresh off-the-press data. We'll continue to track closely the category level shopper insights, and you can really find a lot of these insights on the NetElixir blog as well. As we have seen, and this I think is again a pyramid that I have used earlier, this pandemic has really changed the entire consumer preference pyramid. I mean, as you can see, and as you can probably understand as well, safety has become and continues to be one of the primary drivers. We have seen very specific emotional drivers to play a very important role. For example, reducing anxiety as well as wellness. And then in between, we really had this huge surge, which was probably about 3 to 4 months, specifically in the months of April, May, and June, whereby there was a big overall emphasis on the nostalgia component. Essentially, as we really got into the lockdown, and I think there has been of late a tremendous amount of skew from providing the hope as a key value element as well. So it has been fascinating because over the last 9 months we have seen one or more of these elements become more important for the overall customer segment in the United States. That's what that's the market that we have really used for our analysis here, change and transition. But some of these, the constant focus on safety as well as providing hope have really become the two most important value elements in this pyramid, which continue to be as such. Some of the questions that marketers have been asking us, and they continue to ask us, I think it's the verdict is still not really final. Will this outbreak really lead to permanent shifts in consumer behavior? So far, based on the data that we have seen about out of I think it has been fairly mixed depending on the industry. It's too early for us to probably comment at this point in time. While we have seen specifically for online grocery, there have been some shifts which we believe can be permanent. Other industries, it's too early for us to really comment. We should be, as we really continue with this series of webinars, should be in a better position to really comment about this as we really proceed over the next few months. The one question which I think probably has been answered a little better is, will the new customers continue to shop with us after the pandemic is over? So again, for certain industries, I can probably again use food as a reference. We have seen typically 1 out of 8 customers continue to do at least 50% of their purchases online. So 16% of the new customers continuing to do 50% of their shopping online is a pretty strong stat that some of them are continuing to shop quite extensively online. And this was once the lockdown was relaxed and people were able to again go out to stores and so on and so forth. Still, in most of the Northeast, I was just discussing with Aaron, and he mentioned that in San Diego, where Aaron's company is based out of, I mean, there seems to be a lockdown which is in place now. So again, things are changing very rapidly. So we'll try to cover as much as possible and just keep a close watch on all the data and all the trends regarding to the consumer behavior. How should I calculate the return on marketing investment when I'm not sure of the LTV? That remains a question. We are still figuring it out. We have seen so far, though, the new online consumers being spending more essentially online, which I think is a positive observation. And are there existing set of marketing KPIs which are more relevant in today's time? So that also is something that is really evolving constantly as the definition of lifetime value effectively changes. And the last question is more to do with this current season, the holiday season. We have seen a fair amount of uncertainty, and over the next few slides, I'll be sharing with you some of the stats, the actual data from the first few days, which we consider to be the holiday season already since Prime Day. And that has been one of the struggles which a lot of marketers are really having to deal with this holiday season. Research overview, we started this process on the 9th of Feb to aggregate the data and analyze the daily online sales metrics. And we do it for about 7 retail categories. And now it has really spanned for 19 14-day periods. So basically 2-week period, 19 of them. And we have really compared daily data essentially over these time periods. And the categories that we have considered for our research are apparel, home decor, tools and hardware, food, gifting, pet supplies, and home furnishings. And as we always have, we have really relied very heavily on our customer intelligence platform, NetElixir Insights, to really gather and aggregate and analyze a lot of this data as well. Let me just get started. And there is a lot of data out there. My request is please put your questions either in the chat box or in the Q&A box. I'll be more than happy to address it at the end of our session today. I'll start with the e-commerce sales, online shopper behavior, trends and insights. I'll also share some of the Google Ad CPC and Google advertising budget shift changes as well. Again, this is a pretty complex and a pretty extensive table. For all the categories, we have really tried to track these 2-week periods. And again, as you can see, starting from the 8th of March going until 31st of October. So pretty extensive set of data. No big surprises here. Most of the categories got off to a pretty strong start in the month of March, especially food, gifting, went off to a very, very strong start. And it really just sort of continued. I mean, till about the month of May and June, the overall online sales across categories was upwards of about 50 or 60%. In many cases, upwards of 100% as well. There were certain categories which really grew, specifically home decor and home furnishings, if you really look at those two categories, as well as hardware and tools. really started exploding sometime in the month of April, around the mid of April. Interestingly, apparel got up to a weak start or a slow start, but once the stimulus checks were received, I think the apparel sales also started going into the positive zone. So we, again, one of the comment that we can very clearly make with a fair amount of certainty is the stimulus checks which were received around the mid of April really have had a very strong positive correlation with each and every category if you really look at the sales growth. And I would request you to really look at that row, which is 19th of April till 2nd of May. And you would see across, that was probably one of the best of the highest, strongest weeks that the e-commerce industry has had so far over the last 9 months. Some of the sales have really slowly started coming down, specifically again apparel to the point. It had gotten off to a weak start, then went up all the way to 57 or 56%, and then has slightly slowed down to about 14 or 15% as well. So maybe we can correlate with people sort of going outdoors, spending more time, more socialization. But as with the number of cases again going up to rather a concerning proportion, I think that number is getting impacted again. Food continues to go up. Food, we believe, will really again surpass the 100% year-on-year growth mark very soon during the holiday season. That's what our forecast is. Home furnishings, home decor, gifting, pet supplies, hardware and tools, all of these remain very strong as well during this time. So overall, online seems to be on a very strong track. There has been a very clear, almost like a migration from physical retail to online retail. And as we have mentioned, our prediction, at least for categories like food, 1 out of 8 new customers who have started shopping online we believe is potentially a loyalist customer for the food and grocery segment. Again, any questions, please feel free to add it to the chat box and we'll be more than happy to answer that. One of the questions that we have gotten asked is, was Prime Day able to kickstart the holiday gift shopping? And again, you would have probably read a lot of news items, a lot of discussions around this. Now, as you can see, the Prime Day sales spiked, obviously. So around the 13th or 14th, you can see this sales spike out here, sort of going up. But since then, both in terms of number of sessions as well as the sales, really came down. So I think the Prime Day sales spike was there, but it subsided fairly quickly. We would think that it was about 13th, 14th, from 15th onwards, as you can see, the numbers have really sort of come down, with the exception of one industry where I think that the trends continue to be strong, though it was not really triggered by Prime Day, but just after Prime Day. As you can see, that industry is the food industry as such. So overall, the numbers have been pretty strong, going up consistently. They were always, this blue line is the actual e-commerce sales for the industry. And this is just a scale that we have tried to aggregate all the data and really sort of like to calibrate against. As you have seen, that the blue line always has been higher than the red line, but now the overall growth has been quite substantial and it continues to really grow up. That is what I think is the basis that we are taking when we forecast that we firmly believe that very soon the year-on-year growth for the food category would exceed 100%. So again, moving on to the next one. This was a question which was again a lot in discussion. May the election week or the elections have any impact on the online sales? There has been a lot of buzz over the last about a week or 10 days around the elections. So we wanted to track if there has been any impact in terms of online sales. So we have tracked essentially the week-on-week change. What does the week-on-week change means? It is basically the week prior to the election compared to the election week. So as you can see, for food and gourmet, actually, it was a great week. I mean, the election week, the sales were up compared to the previous week by about almost 60%, about 57, 58%. Apparel was fairly strong as well. Pet supplies, but home furnishings, roughly the same level. But gifting, home decor, and tools were marginally lower. But if you really look at the conversion rate is the number of people who are landing on the website to the people who are buying. That we saw that was 5% lower than the previous week. I know there was a study from, I believe it was quoted by Google, that effectively they saw a 20% gap on the election date, specifically the 3rd and the 4th. Our study is not as much lower as you can see in this one, but still it was probably anywhere between 12 to 15% lower on the specific, the third and the fourth of the election week. So it's very interesting because the point that I would try to make out here is there are events of this magnitude, and election week was definitely an event which was a pretty massive impact and importance, which has a direct correlation with the online sales trends or the e-commerce trends as well. So a big takeaway from this part is, as marketers or as retail marketers, we are really planning out our overall online sales plans or e-commerce plans. It's quite useful to really keep in mind of these direct correlations, essentially, of that these big events can really have on your sales, and really project or forecast accordingly. Moving on, we try to track also the CPCs. I know when I have done this presentation earlier, I had mentioned that the Google cost per click. So when I say Google cost per click, is basically Google advertising cost per clicks, have really been trending at an all-time low. And this was all the way from April, May, June. The CPCs were exceptionally low. And then they started going up roughly around the mid of August, end of August timeframe. So what we have done is we have compared it wouldn't be conversion rate, I'm sorry for the typo there. It should be average CPC cost per click and May versus October. So in gifting category, it went up from 28 cents to 42 cents. Again, this is purely our customer database. So take it only as a percentage indicator rather than the actual number. So I wouldn't focus so much on the 42 cents as I would focus on the percentage increase. So 50% increase, home furnishings about 25% increase. Apparel was interesting, went up from 21 to 42 cents, almost like a 100% increase there. It will be interesting, as we have seen, though in the first week of November, the overall apparel sales being a little slow in the first 7 to 8 days, whether the CPCs again start going down, or does the holiday effect keep on pushing up the cost per clicks. We also had made some projections. This was on 25th of September, the webinar that we had done, where we had projected as to how much Google ad investments do we believe marketers or retail marketers would really do in Q4. It's an important statistic because, understandably, I think it to an extent is correlated to effectively how much people are really advertising aggressively on search advertising. So we are actually at this point in time, based on the results that we have seen, we are actually increasing it from 22% was what we had projected on September 25th. We are increasing that to 25%. The small e-commerce businesses will spend 7 to 8% more in Q4 on their Google ads compared to what they had spent in Q4 2019. The mid-sized e-commerce businesses will spend 25 to 28% more compared to what they had spent in Q4 2019, and enterprise e-commerce businesses are likely to spend 17 to 20% more. Overall, if you really do a weighted average, we get to this number 25%. So if someone had invested, let us say $100 in 2019 Q4, we believe the same business would spend $125 in Q4 2020. One notable difference would be how exactly the spend would be spread. When will people spend? And for that, we are excited and to present our 2020 holiday e-commerce sales calendar. Before I just go into the calendar, there is a lot out here. I'll just give you a little bit of a context behind this calendar. We have done this for about 9 years now, the holiday e-commerce calendar. So it has been around for a fair amount of time. And this time, the amount of difficulty with the NetElixir retail intelligence team, which spends its efforts in doing this calendar was almost incomparable to any of the previous years. And one of the reasons was the huge amount of uncertainty which was around this holiday season as we got in. The second point I really have to call out is these are all indicative dates. This shouldn't be taken as such. I mean, obviously, it has to be. I would think very clearly. You have to really look at your business trends and analyze those trends before, rather than directly jumping in and blindly following the dates which have been mentioned in the calendar. The third point, which I really wanted to mention out here, also is in the previous 8 years, we have published this calendar as early about the second week of September. This is probably the latest we have published this calendar, which is essentially we are releasing it today, well into the holiday season, just because of very unique holidays underway as such. As I try to explain this calendar, I would request you to really look at this as 3 parts or 3 segments. On the left side, we have tried to map out all the dates or days, essentially starting the 15th of November, which is essentially coming up so this coming Sunday, all the way till the 31st of December. So that's what we are classifying in this calendar. Though the holiday season, again, as I have mentioned, it's more of a nomenclature thing. Some companies are treating 1st November till Christmas to be the holiday season. Other companies have even been treating it as since Prime Day till the Christmas. So the orange boxes that you see, orange really refers to a high increase in online sales. When I say high increase, I would refer you back to the right side of the screen, wherein you have the year-on-year increase in online sales, where we are comparing that particular day, not the date, day, essentially, what was the overall online sales last year and what will it be this year. So we are trying to make it as accurate as possible by comparing days. A high classification is where we expect 25 to up till 75% higher sales, e-commerce sales happening on that specific day. When you get to the green is basically moderate, so less than 25% increase over the same day last year, and very high is where we are projecting that the e-commerce sales will be higher than 75% more compared to what it was on the same day in 2019. Below that, we have some forecasted holiday trends as well. So below it's the right bottom segment with the forecasted holiday trends. We are forecasting that e-commerce sales is likely to register a 45% year-on-year increase in November and a 20% year-on-year increase in December. So understandably, the overall aggregated sales is about 30% year-on-year increase. The reason for this is we believe because of the early shipping cutoff dates, which would be anywhere between 10th and the 15th of December, we believe a lot of the sale would really happen over the next about 4 or 5 weeks. And that's the reason there would be a substantial increase in the e-commerce sales happening on these particular dates. The total online sales in November plus December combined would exceed, for the first time, 20% of total retail sales in the US. First time during holidays, online sales would account for more than 20% of the total retail sales during the holiday season. And as I mentioned, shipping cutoff dates as well as the product availability, the inventory stock out we sense can pose a pretty big challenge for retailers during the holiday season. Will be the key limiting factors this year. So that's, I think, some of the forecasts right there. I'll quickly get into the week's characteristics, which is right there in the center, where we have tried to estimate essentially what can be some of those characteristics of the week in terms of promotions, in terms of sales trends, etc. So if you really look at the week of 15th of November, which is essentially next week, we believe some of the online retailers will be running their most attractive holiday promotions this week to induce early holiday shopping behavior. We work with over 100 customers, and we have quite a few customers who are planning pretty aggressive sales promotion next week itself, and of course continuing on to the Cyber Week. But that's when we really believe would really be the big trigger why you would see all those orange from 15th to the 19th of November. Moving on, the 2 biggest online shopping weeks of 2020, we believe will be between the week of 22nd and the week of 29th. And about 2 months back when we had done the webinar, I had mentioned that instead of Cyber 5, we believe that this year's holiday season or Q4 will have Cyber 10. So 10 days, which would really define e-commerce sales because of the quantum or the volume of sales which is being transacted on those days. We believe 2 of those dates have been around Prime Day. Cyber 5 plus Prime Day basically makes it 7 days. We think during this phase, this 2-week period, which is 22nd all the way to 5th, we believe 2 to 3 additional big shopping dates will happen over and above the Cyber 5 as well. So when I say Cyber 5, I'm talking about Thanksgiving, which is 26th of November till Monday, which is the 30th of December, 30th of November. That's the time frame we are talking about as Cyber 5. Beyond that, we believe there will be 2 more days, and these are some of the potential dates we think would be very strong, which is 22nd, 23rd, 24th, 25th, and even the first, the day after Cyber Monday as well. And a big reason again would be the shipping cutoff dates, as well as the most attractive sales promotion being done during these 2-week period. The cutoff date for ground shipping for delivery by 12/24 for most retailer is likely to happen in the week of the 6th of December. So it can be anywhere between 10th, in extended cases, probably around 15th. Ground shipping dates, last date, for example, we are a customer technology program partner for UPS. The ground shipping cutoff date, I believe, is 15th of December, but more or less it would be around that phase between the 10th to the 15th when the cutoff dates will happen at that time. So expect some last minute surges between 6th and the 10th of December also in terms of the volume of sales. The week of 13th is unique because that is the time when either the online shipping cutoffs are there, but that is the time when we believe the buy online, pick up in store commerce will really surge. Most retailers will really lower their digital marketing spend this week. We believe by this time the online sales, the adequate demand has really been generated, and we think that there may be a little bit of a softening in terms of advertising spend. Most retailers would just want to be visible, but will not really be very aggressive just because of shipping cutoffs. But the brick and mortar businesses would really be focusing a lot in terms of driving the buy online, pick up in store sales patterns during this time. The week of 20th would be the Christmas week would understandably be a slow week. During that time, we don't expect any unnatural shopping activity. The last week, which is the week of 27th of December, would be interesting. We are calling this the Me Buy week. And we believe that this is the time that there would be some deep sales discounts, which would be offered by many of the retail businesses there. So that's our overall holiday e-commerce calendar. We will be sort of sharing a copy of the calendar as well as a link where you can really download this calendar as well. And if you have any questions, I see we have got a few questions already. I'll try to address each one of them at the end of the presentation session. But that's where I'm really excited to present our 2020 holiday e-commerce calendar for this year. So overall, our projection, we are actually increasing our projection based on the trends that we have seen. On 20th September, we have projected 22% growth in e-commerce. We are increasing that to 30% year-on-year e-commerce growth for essentially the November-December timeframe, which would be broken down into a 45% year-on-year growth in November and 20% year-on-year growth in December. So with that, let me move on to the next segment of our session, a much awaited segment, where I am very excited to invite my good friend, our client, and the Vice President of Marketing at GovX, Pelander, for a quick Q&A session. Today being Veterans Day, and Aaron's company essentially services the veteran customer segment. It's really a privilege to have you here with us, Aaron, today. And thanks for taking the time. Would it be possible for you to quickly self-introduce yourself? I think we have done a bit of an introduction, a little bit about GovX, so that everyone can understand a little more about GovX, and then we can get into a quick chat.
Yeah, thank you for having me. And I'm going to need to update the headshot because that's what I looked like before COVID, and I haven't cut my hair in 10 months now. But for GovX, yeah, today is a big day. So for those of you who are not familiar with GovX, we are an online-only retailer. We cater exclusively to folks who are currently serving or have previously served in our U.S. Armed Forces, law enforcement, firefighting, other first responder and government agency type positions. It's free to be a member of our site, but you do have to verify that you did or do one of those jobs. And then once you have access to the site, you can access all of the deals that we aggregate for our members by working with 400 plus brands in normal times, pro sports teams, theme parks, anything, any entity that wants to offer a military or a first responder discount. That largely comes through govx.com. And so today, being Veterans Day, this is a key time period for us. And this year is obviously a little bit different. So we'll talk more about that. But in other years, this would certainly be kicking off a big part of the end of Q4 for us. In 2020, that has all been accelerated. So we've been largely digging into holiday planning and execution for the last month at this point. So that's the quick summary of GovX, but I don't want to steal the thunder on the questions. If you want to.
Sure, Aaron, absolutely. My first question actually would be extending from what you just mentioned. So you said that the last 1 month you and the team have been really preparing for the holidays, right? Can you give an idea as to what were some of the preparations and what was the basis for those preparations essentially? What exactly were you expecting getting into this rather uncertain holiday season?
Sure. So this whole year has been uncertain, and I think partly what has helped the planning for holiday really has been more of this whole year's worth of adjustments, changes in strategy, and leading up to this point. But specifically for the holiday period, the primary, I think, big shifts were in line with what other retailers are doing as well. So we, as an example, we shifted budget that we were planning on spending in December. We actually shifted that past November and all the way up into October. So and that's true for paid search and everything we've done with the NetElixir team. That's true for social, display, retargeting, et cetera. We made a conscious effort to try and grab as many of the early orders in this holiday period as we could. Well with the strategy that we've had kind of throughout 2020, which has been really focusing on, for us, new member acquisition. So like I mentioned, we have kind of that 2-step process of first, you need to be aware that we exist and sign up to create your account. And then of course we're a retailer, so we want you to shop on the site. We've spent a tremendous amount of money for us this year on the member acquisition side. And as that has unfolded over these last 7 months, it's really set us up well for Q4 because we have just a much higher base of where we're starting with members, and working with partners like NetElixir. The team has been amazing to help us really target those new members. So a big focus for us this year has been on new customer growth. So not just getting a new member for the sake of a new member, but we want them to make their first purchase with us within the first 30 days of their membership. And so with NetElixir, we've done things like targeting those specific groups of new members and specifically adjusting our budgets and our spend strategy to target those folks. And we're doing that on other channels as well. We've worked closely with the NetElixir team to expand into YouTube this year as a new kind of channel for us. We haven't done much around video and YouTube until this year. We've also launched on TV earlier this year. So it's been a year of rather than pulling back, just really pressing into anything that we can to grow the base during this incredible e-commerce boom that we've had over these last 6-7 months. And going back to the holiday period that we're in now, really, we started not necessarily competing with Prime Day, but right around that time period is when our holiday messaging really kicked in. And we're a discount website, so we always are on sale to some degree, but we've ramped that up even further earlier than we would have in past years. And so our holiday calendar really started mid-October, leading through the rest of October. And now as we get into November, we started off November very strongly. As you mentioned, the election couple of days around the 3rd and the 4th, we did see a decline. And now with our Veterans Week sale actually started last Friday, so we don't limit this to a Veterans Day sale. And we'll take the same type of approach for Black Friday, Cyber Monday. All of these periods will last weeks, not days. And so it's really more than a 5-day or a 7-day period for us. We're thinking of how do we stretch this out and maximize as many of these days as we can, especially in this year when it's just, we're not expecting it to fall maybe as normally as it would in years past. Long-winded.
Thank you so much. So one question which sort of comes out of that was about your consumer as such, specifically the new consumer or the consumer segment that you serve, the veterans, is a very unique consumer segment. So any uniqueness in their behavior, anything which has changed probably that you are seeing? I mean, anything new this year that you are observing?
Yeah, for us, it's interesting because a lot of what we sell, it's kind of split between items that people need for their jobs and things that they just enjoy for their lifestyle. And Q4 has always been interesting for us because our audience in particular likes to buy for themselves during this time period. So there is gift buying, but a lot of gift buying, but we have the benefit of still having that tie-in to what these folks need to do their jobs on a day-to-day basis. And if we can tie that together with great deals from the brands that we work with, it's a win-win for our members right now. They can kind of knock out multiple things at once. They can get things that they need for their job. They can start their holiday shopping, and they know they're going to get a great price from GovX. What we've seen, as most retailers have seen over these last 6 months, and it's not just unique to the audience that we serve, is conversion rate has just really held strong in 2020 versus previous years. And so that has been what has supported our ability to spend more leading up, up until now and continuing through the rest of this year, is that conversion rate. I mean, it hasn't been necessarily that, CPCs have gone down or things like that. That's all been helpful. But what really has driven our ability to spend is the conversion rate. And we very closely monitor our CAC and our percent of revenue and our percent of margin that we're spending each month. And as long as the conversion rate holds strong and we can stay within kind of the boundaries that we set for ourselves, we'll keep being aggressive. So again, a long-winded answer to your question, but for our audience, this time period around Veterans Day is important, but we have that a little bit unique character, a little bit of a difference with our audience in terms of they're buying not just for others, but also for themselves, even through the holiday period. And you mentioned on a previous slide, that post-Christmas time period where it's, kind of buying for yourself. That's something that we've done, for years. And that's part of our strategy as we close out December. As soon as those last cutoff dates for shipping happen, things just start to shift towards, well, get what you want for yourself. Even if it's right before Christmas, we still see really strong days with our audience. Even on the days preceding Christmas, because again, they're going to go for a great deal from a brand they like. And if we can offer that and put it in the right place at the right time, then we succeed in Q4.
Very helpful, Aaron. Just curious. So in terms of some of the lessons, I'm pretty sure that we all have had learned lessons during the last 9 or 10 months. And some of the lessons that you have learned, what would you rate as the top 3 lessons learned as a marketer? And my second follow through to that would be, how exactly will you be using these lessons as you really plan for the 2021 marketing program?
Yeah, so this has been an interesting year on a lot of levels, but I'd say what we've done well, and it was a lesson along the way here, was when March happened, for us, we had at least the do this, but it was not to pull back. It was to really push forward. Mm-hmm. And I mentioned the TV advertising that as one example where we had not done a TV campaign, and we launched that in May, and we've maintained, and that's a new, fairly costly endeavor for us, right? But we've pushed on it throughout this year, and we're continuing to push on it as we close out November and December. So I'd say one lesson was being aggressive in a time where we were seeing the benefit again, going back to conversion rate and just overall traffic over these months, was not to be hesitant, was just to really focus on what are the most impactful channels, and to some degree, and in some cases, literally doubling down on those areas. The second part has been really focusing in on that new customer focus for us, and we've taken that as a mindset internally. We've done it with our partners like NetElixir, like I mentioned, to focus on these key cohorts of people. We've done it on social for paid. Any ways that we can influence that first 30-day period to get a transaction, we have very high confidence in our ability to get that person to repeat. So out of all of this has come an increased focus on new customer acquisition for us. And again, going back to that CAC number, we've gotten better at homing in on what is that number that we need to hit with a really tight turnaround. We look at 30 days after they've joined. What are we spending in a 30-day period, and what's coming back to us in the 30-day period? And to answer the last part of your question, that this evolution of drastically increased spend for us, combined with a much more clear vision of how we want that return to look, is what we're basing our entire 2021 plans off of. So we've fundamentally changed our budgeting approach for 2021, coming out of some deep dive analysis of how these last few months have worked, not because we think 2021 is going to look exactly like 2020, but because we have it's the scale of this year has allowed us to gather data at a much faster rate, and to think about how we put that information into practice moving forward. So it's been a great year for learning, just because of the traffic.
Great, that was very comprehensive. So in terms of this holiday season, again, just not to put you on a spot there, Aaron, but I mean, in terms of the year-on-year sales growth rate, let us say Q4 this year versus Q4 last year, would it be upwards of 10%, 20%, 30%, or higher?
We're talking about just top line sales growth?
Just top line sales overall. I mean, just.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's going to differ obviously for every company and where they're starting from, but our expectations, I'll put it this way. We had a plan going into the year, right? We're not aiming for that plan anymore. We're aiming for twice that plan, more or less. So our October traffic to the site was higher than December of 2019, and nearly as high as November of 2019. We're just playing on a different field this year than we were last year. So, October for us, again, partly intentionally because we pushed budget towards October. We saw upwards of 100% growth in October, and in November and December, it'll be a harder year-over-year comparison. So I'm not expecting 100% growth, but I am expecting significantly more than what we initially planned on.
Fantastic. Excellent. Thank you, Aaron. My last question to you would be, I know we have a lot of retailers joining us today. Any recommendations as they really get into the 2021 planning season? What are some of the things that the retail marketer today should probably definitely be focusing on? I mean, there are a lot of things that they can focus on, but if there are 2 or 3 things that every marketer probably today needs to focus on, what would those be?
Well, I think it's like you said, it's going to be very different for every type of business, and we're, GovX is much different than much larger corporations, and we're bigger than some other corporations. So it's going to be, and it depends on what you've been doing. I think for us, it's going to be taking the learnings of this year, like I said, and pushing them even further. It's going to be really focusing on the cost to acquire a new customer, and putting programs in place that are specifically focused on that. We're already talking as a management team and as a company overall about our 2021 key goals, and new customer growth is the focus. And that's not unique. I know that all retailers want new customers, but if we have to focus between that and repeat per se, for us next year, how we go about getting new customers, and that starts for us at the top of the funnel with new members. how we get new customers as fast as possible once they join, that's going to be dictating a lot of what we do next year in 2021. So I think to answer your question, I think it's just kind of finding what that thing is to focus on. We're not going to hit the year with 5 or 7 or 9 corporate objectives. We're going to hit the year with 2. And we know clearly how we're going to measure them, and which on the paid side, which channels we think are most key in terms of how we're going to allocate our budget.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Aaron. I mean, this is fantastic. Thank you so much for joining us today. I know there are certain questions. Heather, do you want to ask the questions, because I've not had a chance to really go through
Sure.
and visit that.
Okay, so we'll get to the questions first. We had a question from Luke. So Luke would like to know, do you anticipate the year-over-year growth will increase as we approach the holiday season? Udayan?
Yeah, I think that's what Aaron is also mentioning. We are expecting substantial growth, and in fact, our overall till the end of the year, I think that we are projecting a 30% increase in November, and we are projecting a 45% in November and 20% in December. So the overall aggregate sales should go up quite substantially. Yes.
Okay, and thank you, Udayan. We have one more question from Shane. Shane asked, based on Google ad spend estimates you previously showed in your presentation, is it fair to say that mid-sized businesses continue to struggle to compete with larger retailers because a growing number of online shoppers tend to turn to marketplaces, well-known large big box retailers, etc.?
That's a great question, and hi, Shane. It's a great question. I think we have a classic example with Aaron here, which showed that mid-sized businesses have really become very creative this year. I mean, if I were to just really have one word to define and describe the mid-sized businesses that we are lucky to work with, they have been very creative. And as a result of it, they have not really struggled to grow as well. I mean, as Aaron mentioned, they were on a pretty fast trajectory in terms of growth. Having said that, the marketplaces definitely really have had an impact. I think there is a lot of study which shows that Amazon has gained a substantial amount of market share. In fact, Amazon's market share, again, per a mini survey that we do every year, this year is likely to go up by almost about 4 to 4.2 percentage points compared to last year during the holiday season. And understandably, the marketplace is playing an interesting and a very important role there. But having said that, I would probably not agree with that mid-sized businesses are getting squeezed. I would think that the businesses which have failed to innovate and probably are not really being as creative as they need to, probably are getting squeezed, but the businesses like GovX that Aaron is sort of leading, I think they have been growing, as he has mentioned himself, at a very, very fast pace. Aaron, I mean, any thoughts on that? I mean, they just put it to you as well. I mean, because I'm pretty sure you'll be interacting with other business owners as well. What do you see?
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's in line with what I've already said. I mean, we're gonna continue spending maybe at a higher clip than others. You know, it just depends on the business, and you know, but we're thinking through everything, not just with how much are we going to spend on paid search, how much are we going to spend on TV, but holistically, we're holding ourselves again to that cost per new customer acquisition, and what's the return on that spend within a 30-day time frame. So within that, it's a decision around what's performing. We're being very nimble, and so that we can shift budget from one area to another. If we get out of line with those boundaries we've set, then we pull back. But thankfully, so far this year, we haven't had to do that too much.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Aaron. Thank you, Udayan. So I'm just quickly going to share a link to our 2020 holiday e-commerce calendar. Anyone that's interested in downloading it, it's complimentary. But we have one more question.
I think there is another question. Sorry to interrupt, from Jason.
No, it's fine.
Jason, I think you have a question on the logistics part. I know we have many of our partner friends from UPS. So I just put it out there. If anyone wants to put it on the chat box, please do so. Jason's question is, the increase in e-commerce has caused shipping and logistic issues that were unexpected. When will the shipping companies catch up with this demand? That's a difficult question. I mean, I don't know. I mean, if anyone of our UPS friends on the chat wants to take it now, or we can get back to you separately, Jason, because that's a very classic logistics question. But I think the overall uncertainty and unevenness that we have seen makes it a lot more difficult. But I'm not really an expert in this. I would probably lean on our partners from UPS to respond to this, and we can definitely get back to you on this. Heather, back to you. Sorry, I think that question was asked. So.
No, you're fine. All right, so I did just share the link in our chat box. So anyone that's interested in downloading our complimentary 2020 holiday e-commerce sales calendar, you can go to NetElixir.com/holidays. This calendar is really going to help you tackle this holiday season and really get ahead with your digital campaigns. On our next slide, if you are looking for a digital marketing agency to help you through this holiday season and beyond, please do not hesitate to contact us by reaching out to us via email at university@netelixir.com. Our experts are here listening and ready to help.
Fabulous. With that, we sort of come to the end of this. Thank you very much. Aaron, thanks a lot for joining us. Really been a privilege talking to you. Thanks everyone for joining us today. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.